We're here at Eurobike to check out the hottest new tech, the fastest, the most lightweight, the most aero bikes. All I need to do now is find Ollie. Ollie, what the hell are you doing over there?
3, 2, 1, go. Go, no.
Oh God, we're like the laughing stock of Eurobike. Just let GCN Tech down.
This incredible machine is the Manta5, and it's a hydrofoil e-bike. So inside here is a 460 watt motor powered by this big 870 watt hour battery. So that's, well, you could in theory sort of do about 400 watts for 2 hours off this thing. And in here as well is a 7-speed gearbox to help everything just take care of the relevant speed and torque that you have, which does it all automatically for you. So you're not changing gear on the handlebars, and this powers this propeller down here. And then you've got these huge carbon fibre wings, one on the back, one on the front. Well, they're hydrofoils, and that's so that this bike can then take off out of the water and then propel itself along. Launching it off a jetty like this is quite difficult, but they tell me that it's much easier to launch it if you've got a nice beach and you can just go straight into the pedalling. But in order to hydrofoil, I'm told that you need to be pushing out 360 watts, which very good cyclists can achieve that for, well, someone like Chris Froome could do it for an hour. But for most cyclists, that's quite difficult, and so that's where the idea of combining an e-bike with a hydrofoil comes in and makes it much more accessible to have the enjoyment of hydrofoiling. Now, I managed to do it briefly for a few seconds, and even then it was loads of fun. So imagine with a bit of practice, getting used to it, riding one of these could be amazing. And you can certainly go much faster than a standard sort of pedalo bike where there's lots more hydrodynamic drag because you're having to drag the whole hull of the boat through the water. So inside the casing here is a load of styrofoam so that it makes the Manta5 very buoyant when you fall off, like as I did many times. And the battery's fully sealed as well, so that that's not going to get damaged by the water when you invariably fall off, like I did many times.
So we've seen the classified hub in detail. Sai has already done a video on that. In fact, at the classified stand, they've got the video of Sai playing in the background. And I just thought I'd take a second to have a look at this, because this is obviously an incredibly aerodynamic bike, and it highlights the main advantage of the classified hub, which means you don't have to have a front derailleur. So it allows bike manufacturers and designers to go even crazier and even wilder than this with their frame designs, because they're not constrained to having the front derailleur. It's pretty cool. I wonder how far frame design is going to change when they're not confined to having the front derailleur mount.
Who's this guy?
So we've just stopped by at Urban Aero. Two main reasons for this. Firstly, they've just unveiled their brand new cargo bike with the Bosch mid-drive motor system. And secondly, just look inside here. Oh, they've got a giant box full up with chocolate. Maybe they won't notice if we take a couple of bars. So on the wall behind me, we've got some brand new Vision wheels. At the top here, we've got the Metron 60 SL, and then here we've got the slightly shallower depth 45 SL. There's been some big changes here, most notably has to be to the shape of the rim profile. So we've got a much wider rim profile here, which has an internal rim width of 21 millimeters, ideal and kind of optimized for 28 millimeter wide tires. There's also a change in the layup of the carbon construction of the rim, which has helped to make it a little bit lighter, but the main improvement is lending towards aerodynamics. At the center of the wheel, we've got a revised, a new shaped hub body. Along with that, on the rear wheel, we actually have a completely new free hub design. So the old one had 6 points of engagement. However, these new ones have got 72 points of engagement to enable you to transfer all of your power very quickly and efficiently through the wheel onto the ground to help make you go faster. And down here, we've got the Vision Metron disc wheel, ideal for time trials and triathletes. This is actually completely revised, and the clincher and tubeless version is just 935 grams and is said to be one of the lightest disc wheels available at the moment.
Over on the Elite stand, there's some cool lightweight bottle cage tech here. This is called the T-Race Carbon, and it's said to be just 15 grams a cage. Very light, but not the lightest bottle cage you've ever seen. We've often seen ones that are like kind of 5 grams, made just from carbon. But the problem with super light cages is they're often not that functional, and they can be a bit brittle and can snap and break easily, especially if you ride over bumps. However, this has a really interesting material to its construction. When you touch it, you can see that it's kind of like a sort of almost rubbery sort of polymer. It's not sort of just a normal carbon. It's got a bit of sort of give and elasticity to it, which makes me think that it's going to sort of be a lot more secure at holding a bottle than a normal really light bottle cage. Really cool. And of course, if you want a really light bottle, or bidon, if you're French or pretentious, to go in your lightweight cage, they've got the Fly 550 bottles here that are just really light and recycled plastic and stuff, nice. But in the name of sustainability, they have their Mia bottle, which I've not seen before, but it's designed to be like a bag for life, a bottle for life. It's just a nice sturdy aluminium bottle with a screw cap. But for those wanting to save the environment, yeah, bit heavier, but you save the polar bears.
Having the latest and greatest Aero kit is all well and good, but what if you actually want to test the stuff out for yourself? Well, this is where the guys come in from Aero OPTIM, and they're said to have made what is the smallest commercially available wind tunnel that you can test bikes on, with this little platform here, which will enable you to measure the drag coefficient of different riders, positions and components on your bike. So this is a modular design which enables them to test a variety of different shapes and sizes of objects and equipment. So you could just use one of these cells to test equipment such as helmets, for example. And you can stack them up, so we've got 3 of them here, enabling us to test different positions and body shapes and types on the bike itself. And this is a measuring table, which is the piece of equipment which is used to measure the drag, and it's kind of the smallest scale wind tunnel I think I've ever seen. Maybe ideal for people or smaller companies that haven't got the budget available to invest in the traditional size wind tunnels that you would have seen previously. So I've just bumped into the guys at Hunt, and I've managed to convince them to show us a bit of a top secret project that they're working on, and to find out a little bit more about them, I thought I'd speak to Chris, who works as part of their design and engineering team. So Chris, tell us what sort of the key features of what you've been working on.
Cool, yeah, so we've bought 3 different distinctive rim profiles today, 3 different depths, 2 front and 1 rear, optimised for the front and rear specific aerodynamic necessities for an aero road bike. They're going to be mainly aimed at the TT and tri market, but we're going to roll them out also into sort of the sprint category of road racing as well.
So if you're part of the design team here, how many iterations have you gone through to try and get to this profile and shape so far?
So the development of these started with CFD. So we went through 27 different CFD profiles before we took it to our first wind tunnel test. When we got back, we also ran another 7 before finalising on these prototypes that we're taking to validate next week at the wind tunnel. That
is super cool. So hopefully we'll find out a little bit more about these wheels when I guess they have some spokes and some hubs, and yeah, I'd be keen to see them in action.
You guys know I love aero and I love time trialing, so I'm particularly excited to see DT Swiss and its new Arc 1100 disc wheel. Check this out. It is a beautiful, beautiful piece of Swiss engineering. So what you've got here is a time trial disc wheel that is designed for disc brakes, so it's a disc. It's nice and wide though. It's tubeless ready, but also it's 20 millimeters wide, which they say means it's optimized for a 28 millimeter tire. In the past, disc wheels have been optimized for much narrower tires, but the aerodynamic profile of a 28 will sit perfectly on this, I'm assured. which is great because that means you get lower rolling resistance, and the width of a tyre is less critical on the rear wheel compared to the front wheel. So on the front, for time trialling, they'd still recommend you use a 23 because at time trialling speeds, the width of the tyre and the frontal area of that becomes significant. But on the rear, it's not a leading edge. So it's more about having the sailing effect of a disc and having that wider contact patch and lower rolling resistance. It's also incredibly light. The fact that I can lift it with one arm like this is not down to the fact that my guns are massive, which they are. It's because it only weighs 1,074 grams, and that's down to its construction. See, most carbon disc wheels have a construction of a traditional spoked wheel inside and then just carbon covers placed over the spokes to turn it into a disc. Not the case here. You've got 8 individual symmetrical carbon pieces that are folded and laminated together to create something that's incredibly laterally stiff but still maintains really low weight and is just, well, aesthetically very smart and very beautiful. Another really cool feature on this is the actual valve cover. So on normal disc wheels, you have just a hole which you then have to tape closed. If you don't tape it closed, you compromise the aerodynamics of your expensive disc wheel. But I'm going to have to just move my mic hand here. You can see this is a really nice carbon cover here, and you can just, if I show you, you twist it like that. You can see the cover for the valve hole just pops out like that. Very neat, very nice, and something that, well, I've not seen on any other disc wheel ever before. A misconception about disc wheels can be that, well, a disc is a disc, and that's not true at all, having spoken to several different aerodynamic experts and designers of them. And, well, the DT Swiss disc has had comprehensive R&D go into it thanks to their long-established relationship with Swiss side and the Immenstaud wind tunnel. So it's you can see it's got a sort of curved shape on that side and then a flat shape on the drive side. Speaking of which, the drive side features a DT Swiss 180 hub with ceramic bearings. So I'm going to spin it up because just clicking it now sounds very fruity. Check this out. Oh, powerful. Sounds powerful. Very nice.
Something that I've seen used more and more by lots of different bike brands is the belt drive system. Now we're at the Gates stand here taking a closer look at their carbon drive belt, which replaces the traditional chain. Gates are a company with a history in automotive manufacturing, having made V-belts, so auxiliary belts, and also cam belts for cars. Now this gives them a really good background and technical knowledge to manufacture belts ideal for use on bicycles, which are going to have a really long service life. When you consider items used in automotive industry, they've got to last like 60,000 miles. So the advantages of using a belt drive system are you don't need to lubricate it, there's almost no maintenance required, and of course, it can't go rusty. Now a cool little interesting fact that I found out about the belt drive is they work in conditions as cold as minus 80 degrees Celsius. Crazy. Going back 41 years, Gates developed one of the first ever drive belts for a bike, but not quite the usual bike you're expecting. This was in fact a motorbike and was done in collaboration with Harley Davidson. Now that's pretty cool, isn't it?
So you want to get a new bike, but you're on the fence as to whether you get a gravel bike or a road bike. Well, this new unreleased bike from WILIER Triestina could be the answer. It's called the Rave, and here it is in full gravel mode. And it looks, well, it's beautiful, isn't it? So this paint colour is actually called Sabbia, which I'm reliably informed is the Italian word for sand. It's a very, very nice paint job. And then there's other great details as well. So this is in the full gravel mode, set up as one bike with Campagnolo e-car. So full Italian bike, full Italian group set, full Italian wheels. It's what the purists want. And in one by guys, you've got this very nice cover for where the front mech can go if you want to attach one, but when it's not there, it just neatens it up. and it's very, very, very smart. On the chainstay as well, because it's potentially going to be used for gravel and off-road, to protect the chainstay from chain slap and stones and things, you've got this very substantial rubber guard with WILIER logos on it that's going to offer good protection, and it's just a lot more premium than having a kind of, well, plastic sticker or bit of tape that a lot of bike brands stick on their chainstays. And then you've got Campagnolo Shimano wheels with big Vittoria tyres, and the tyre clearance is, well, 45 millimeters, so loads of tyre clearance for off-road. But as I said, here is the bike in its full gravel mode, guys. However, round the corner, check this out. Here's the bike in a full road going mode, and you can hardly tell it's the same bike. I think that's in part to the fact that it's a different colour, but it is the same bike. And here it's fitted with, well, WILIER's own brand deep section carbon wheels and SRAM Force Access with a 2x group set. So it shows that the same bike can be set up as a bike that you could do road racing on or Gran Fondos with narrow tyres, and it still looks like a performance road bike. But then if you wanted to switch it up into gravel mode, put some deeper tyres in with bigger wheels, maybe switch it to a one-by, and off you go. So it could just be, you know, rather than having to have two specific bikes, one bike that does it all.
Check these out. These are some pretty cool looking shoes, and they're actually from a company called LINTAMAN. Now, they've been making shoes for a little while now, but this is the first shoe that they're kind of really shouting about. It's quite a unique shoe design, and one of the key standout features is this incredible heel cup design. So the dial on the back here allows you to get your foot firmly secured in place. And then one of the unique features of this shoe is this adjustable heel cup. So the piece inside is actually removable and completely adjustable. So in this setup here, we've got its most secure fit option, ideal for if you're racing. However, on other days, if you may be out training or want a slightly more relaxed fit to your shoe, you can have it in the more upright position, so a slightly looser and more comfortable fit when maybe like sprinting or power delivery isn't the most important thing to you. So underneath here, obviously, we've got a carbon fibre sole, very popular amongst all sorts of cycling shoes now, and I've got to confirm, these are very lightweight. So this shoe comes in at 190 grams in a size 43, which is comparable with some of the lightest out there. Got a little gripper on the front, little gripper on the back as well, and this single dial design is really sort of simplistic and minimalist. I really like that. So the other cool part about these shoes is this, the insole. So it features a movable, not removable, a movable insert, which is designed to support the arch of your foot. This can be moved forwards, backwards, inwards, outwards, and is designed to make sure you get the best fit possible for all sorts of different foot shapes and sizes. It's quite a cool little feature, and it is in fact made from a nice rigid piece of carbon fibre. So you've got good support and it's still incredibly lightweight. Oh, and it's also a memory foam design. So after a number of hours riding, it will memorise the shape of your foot to get an even comfier fit. Nice.
I've got some seriously nerdy tech here, but something that I am really excited about. This is the New Motion Labs chainring and sprocket. And it's something that we've spoken about on the tech show before. It's a bit of tech that was, well, hoping to be at the Tokyo Games, but unfortunately it didn't get sign-off for the UCI in time to be used at the Tokyo Olympics. But they're hoping that it'll be used in Paris and at the next UCI Track World Championships too. So for those unfamiliar, or who haven't heard of it before, the New Motion Labs chain and sprocket is a different design to a conventional chain and has less teeth on it and uses a different type of chain. And in using this system, the makers believe that it is far more efficient. So a traditional track drivetrain with a half-inch pitch chain and conventional teeth pattern is said to be about 97% efficient. So you're losing 3% through your drivetrain of the power that you produce at the crank. However, by switching to a New Motion Labs setup with that same sort of half-inch pitch chain gauge, they reckon it moves up to 98.5%. However, they've developed it further to use 8mm pitch chains like British Cycling were using in the Olympics, and they say that gets an extra 0.5% efficiency on their rig that they have at the University of Bath, taking it to 99% efficient. Now, the difference that this could make, if I put it into context in a team pursuit, is 0.719 of a second, which is not much. if you're thinking about riding to the shops and you think, well, I don't need that on my bike. But within the context of trying to win an Olympic medal or set a world record, that is huge. That's no longer like a marginal gain, it's just a flat out gain. Now, for those of you squirreling away in the comments section right now, dismissing this as snake oil and yet more cycling marketing about drivetrain, the guys behind this aren't a commercial entity. They're not marketeers, they're engineers, and their sole purpose right now is to try and create something that genuinely does work and make drivetrains more efficient in a bid to win medals. Let us know in the comments what you think of the new Motion Labs drivetrain system, but I'm really keen to see it in action on the track, where I'm willing to bet that it's going to be used by the Danish National Federation, and I'm excited about that because it could make all the difference in them trying to win a medal, especially when you consider the tight winning margins, and it could turn the tide against the Italians who beat them to gold in Tokyo.
What is this? Well, of course, it's the fibre spoke, designed to replace traditional steel spokes in your wheel set, and it's made up of carbon fibres and a special top secret ingredients. Now, this one I've got here is a prototype design, but it's something that is designed to replace a wheel set, and if you use these on both sides on a set of wheels, it reduces the spoke weight by 60%. So across your average set of wheels, you could save in the region of 150 grams. It mounts onto a normal rim using a titanium nipple, which is of course specially designed to work with the fibre spoke, and these are put into pairs on a specially designed hub facing opposing ways to deal with opposing forces. So that's to do with accelerating forces and braking forces, so that you've got a wheel which is incredibly lightweight yet just as strong as it's ever been. So we've got these fancy titanium nipples here which allow the fibre spoke to be mounted onto a traditional wheel rim, and there's 4 of these fibre spokes built into one wheel, each one weighing just 6 grams. So quick maths, what's that? 24 grams of fibre spokes per wheel, which is incredible. In fact, the wheel set weighs just 930 grams, hence the company name 1K, because their target was to create a wheel set which weighs less than 1 kilograms, so 1,000 grams. Well, they've easily achieved that. This wheel is, of course, a prototype version, but I'm told the full-scale production ones will be available in spring 2022, and which the fibre spoke will have a much glossier, more refined finish. On the wall behind me, amongst all of these fancy parts, is this, the FSA K-Force Team Edition chain set. An incredibly light chain set, which is made in 3 separate pieces. So we've got a single machined chainring. So this is a one-piece design, CNC machined. So both chainrings are made out of one single piece of aluminium. And then the center spindle in the middle there is also aluminium and is then bonded onto the left-hand crank arm. The crank arms themselves are 3K carbon fiber. All of this combines together to make an incredibly light yet stiff chain set. So in 172.5mm crank arms and in a 5339 chainring combination, so a standard setup, this weighs just 551 grams, and it actually debuted at the Tour de France this year, used by Team B&B Hotels. It's quite a cool looking bit of kit, isn't it? And I particularly like the little section which is machined silver to make it stand out, whereas the rest of it is a nice subtle black. Really like that. Hope you enjoyed taking a closer look at some of the hottest tech, the most lightweight and the most aero stuff that we could get our hands on today.
And most hydrodynamic.
Yes, and the most hydrodynamic.
You know what? In 8 years of coming to Eurobike, I've never ended up in the Eurobike lake until now.
Oh, well, it's always the first time for everything, isn't there?
Yeah, my grosse Jungenhosen have nearly dried out.
What on earth is that?
Big boy pants in German.
Fantastic. Well, if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a big thumbs up, and why not let us know in the comments section down below which bit of tech you enjoyed seeing the most. Thanks. See you later.
Grosse Jungenhosen.
Oh dear. Please never say that again.